Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the world. Prayers are pouring in from around the world for Sri Lanka after suicide bombers struck at 6 locations on Easter Sunday, leaving over 300 people dead and more than 500 injured. The violence was the deadliest the country had seen since a 26-year-old civil war ended in 2009. 2 Catholic churches, St. Anthony's Shrine in Colombo and St. Sebastian's Church in Negombo, as well as an evangelical church in Banikoloa, were targeted during Easter services. The Shangri-La, Kingsbury, and Cinnamon Grand hotels in Colombo also were attacked. Some other bombs were found in the area and were detonated by the police. Catholic News Service has more on the aftermath of all the bombings.
චර්ච් එකට ගියා. චර්ච් එකට ගිහින් ඊට පස්සේ අපි කෝල් ගත්තා යට. කෝල් වැඩ කරවෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ රෑ වෙනකම් මොනවත් ආන්සර් නැහැ. ඒක තමයි උදේම අපි ආවේ. How long? Since when they were here?
A little-known Islamic national group is being blamed for the bombings. 24 people had been arrested in connection with the bombings. Pope Francis, during his Easter Mass at the Vatican, expressed his closeness to the Sri Lankan Christian community, saying that he entrusted to the Lord all those who were tragically killed and prays for the injured and all those who are suffering as a result of this dramatic event. And speaking of the Vatican, in news from the Vatican at noon on Easter Monday, Pope Francis appeared at the window of his study to pray the Regina Coeli and deliver a brief homily to thousands of people in St. Peter's Square, recalling these past few days of the passion and resurrection of Christ. The Pope spoke of the shock of the resurrection.
La risurrezione di Cristo costituisce l'avvenimento più sconvolgente della storia umana, che attesta la vittoria dell'amore di Dio sul peccato e sulla morte e dona alla nostra speranza di vita un fondamento solido come la roccia. Ciò che umanamente era impensabile è avvenuto. Gesù di Nazareth, Dio lo ha risuscitato liberandolo dai dolori della morte.
Patris, et Filius, et Spiritus Sanctus, descendat super vos, et maneat semper.
In news from Rome, the Bishop of Tallinn, Estonia, was in Rome recently with a group from his country, and after briefly meeting with Pope Francis, he had a chance to talk to Rome reports about the positive effects that the Pope's visit in September has had for Catholics and non-Catholics alike in his country.
During the papal visit to the Baltic countries in September, Pope Francis's last stop was to Tallinn, Estonia. The Apostolic Administrator of Estonia, Bishop Philippe Jordan, had personally invited the Pope to visit and is thrilled that it came to pass. When in Rome, the bishop got to speak to Pope Francis after the general audience to hear his impressions 7 months after the visit.
The Pope said, I was very happy with my visit to Estonia. So it was very. And then I said, well, thank you very much, Holy Father, and pray a little bit for Estonia now, because we are in a little bit complicated political situation. And so he said me, he looked at me and said, yes, I've read that you had elections recently.
Now Bishop Jordan says after the papal visit, Estonians view the Catholic Church in a different way, especially the youth.
It's clear that there was a higher number of people wanted to become baptized or to be received in the church. That people see now the Catholic Church and especially the Holy Father, of course, as something more nearer from them. And it's very important for the future.
People are looking for masses and there are some prayer groups. It doesn't mean that they will be Catholics, but just to be in part and to show openness. This is really respectful for our church and I think for a whole church in the world.
The press representative for the Estonian Catholic Church says others sparked an interest in what's going on in the Catholic Church and the 6,000 Catholics in Estonia.
And finally in the news, a 2-hour memorial service was held this past weekend in Littleton, Colorado to mark the 20th anniversary of the Columbine High School shooting rampage, which left 12 students and 1 teacher dead and 2 dozen injured. In an interview before the service, the then principal, Frank DeAngelis, a lifelong Catholic, recalled how he went into a hallway to help a group of girls who were trying to escape the shooters when one of the shooters took aim at him until teacher Dave Sanders distracted the gunman. DeAngelis said the girls were able to get away, but Sanders was shot in the head and later died in a classroom. DeAngelis said he began to question his faith after that day until the words of his pastor, Father Ken Leon, became a turning point for him. Father Leon told him that he should have died that day, but that God had a plan for him. Father Leon told him how many difficulties are really lessons in disguise. God, he told DeAngelis, is going to be with him every step of the way. DeAngelis went back to Columbine for 15 more years before retiring as principal in 2014. He spoke at the memorial service and told those gathered that he recites the names of the 13 who died every morning when he wakes up and then prays, "Help me, Lord." DeAngelis went on to say that they have mourned their deaths, but that they have always celebrated their lives and their spirit remains strong and they draw from that. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.